buy backup quarterbacks again for like $100, couple $100. But
Yep.
now those guys come out right out of the gate and they're like thousands of dollars right away. So it's like they have to do so much to sustain the value.
All right, what's going on, guys? We are back. We got another interview today with a long-time friend, just like some of our more recent podcasts. Probably some of the people I have known the longest in the industry. We've got a good friend coming on today. My guy, Matt Fang. Matt, welcome to the pod.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming all this way to sit down and chat for a few minutes. We have known each other for a long time. Shout out to you for just a quick little intro here. I'll let you tell me a little bit more about your story so the audience can get some insight into you. But shout out to you, man, for the early days, for the FaceTimes, chatting about, this is early IG days. So this is like 2013, 2014. Matt and I would FaceTime each other. I mean, I'm talking for hours. And we would sit there talking about like Jimmy G and Derek Carr. It was like that. It was all those guys, Bortles and Garoppolo. We can get into the Jimmy Garoppolo days as a Patriots guy. You've moved some cool stuff. So this will be fun. But man, shout out to you.
Thank you. Yeah, I remember all the 2014 class.
Legendary class. Great time. So let's start there. Let's start with who you are and how we got right here.
Yeah, Matthew Fang, and I also goes Matt Sports Cards. Just when I started collecting, it was 2014, again, around that class. And I just remember, like, the first time I started really, like, collecting was after, like, summer camp one day. I went to my friend's house, and his brother had all these cards in the closet, and we just, like, flipped through them, and I thought it was, like, the coolest thing. And then after that, we just started going to, like, Target, and once in a while getting, like, the blasters and opening them, stuff like that.
So very humble beginnings with blaster box openings. But give me some more insight into like 2014 time, because like I know about it from like our dealings with early IG days and just being friends early on. But tell me, like, how did like the early days for you go in cards? Because if you got into 2014, I mean, you were buying Jimmy Garoppolo cracked ices, you were buying National Treasures, like the values were much different back then than they are now. Like the QB like market, you didn't get $10,000 autos like regularly. That was rare. But like, what was it like early on for you? Because I know, but you had some success really early in your venture into cards.
Yeah, I'd say it started with, I remember sending stuff like through the mail, like TTM with stamps. Open stuff for like it'd be like selling stuff for like $10, $20 and stuff, and it's like slowly building up.
Yep.
And eventually buying like again Jimmy Garoppolo, and buying like contenders 9.5s and like NTs, and they were like under $100 or around $100. And then obviously I got lucky when he got traded and all that, and he went up to a couple X. So yeah, okay. After that, it definitely gave me a little like head start with that. So yeah, that was definitely big for me.
A couple X is probably being generous. I mean, Jimmy G was always the heir apparent to Brady. Like you grew up in Boston. I was a Patriots fan in Columbus. Like I know we connected over the Patriots thing. But he's always the heir apparent. Like, when is Brady going to be done? When is Brady going to be done? Jimmy Garoppolo is the heir apparent. They took him, what was it, second round, third round? Like, this guy's going to be the real deal. And he gets moved to the Niners, and his stuff exploded. And I just remember you had a ton of it. And I think that's the big thing I think so much about in cards now. And I know you can attest to this. But, like, the difference in card values of quarterbacks over a decade is astronomical. You go back a year ago, you mentioned Jimmy Garoppolo National Treasures RPAs were under $100. That's not a thing these days. I mean, National Treasures football's not out yet, but like I would imagine some of the lower end NT patch autos of guys that might not ever play will sell for $100. Am I crazy to say that like that has changed a drastic amount over the last 10 years?
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's like you used to be able to prospect a lot more because you could buy backup quarterbacks again for like $100, couple $100. Yep. But now those guys come out right out of the gate and they're like thousands of dollars right away. So it's like they have to do so much to sustain the value
Yeah.
that they have.
Yeah, it was a lot more like you said, ability to prospect rather than like just expecting everybody to be good. Who were again, you've done this for so long. You had some success early on with Jimmy G. What were some of the other, you mentioned Jimmy G gave you a little bit of like a head start, like you did well in that. What are some of the other moments, like again, we're 10 plus years into this, you and I knowing each other, you've been in cards. What are some of the other moments you look back on and be like, this was one of those times where like I bought this guy and it did well for me? Anything stand out on the journey?
I'd say one of them, again, staying with New England trend, was Brady.
Yeah.
When Brady, this was a lot farther on, but once Brady won that other Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, I had a bunch of his stuff because he was like my PC. And then after that, I was in college at the time. I was like, that's a lot of money. Like I should probably liquidate some of it. So I sold a lot of those, which helped a lot. And then another was right when like COVID hit. I had like a Mike Trout like Bowman Chrome refractor. I remember I got, and then I traded it right after stuff started going crazy. So that was also another big moment.
So you mentioned that this is a good question. This is a good topic to transition to. You mentioned in both of those, you mentioned trading. This is one thing I've been very big on, like record, like on a lot of my content over the years, that like I don't do a lot of trades. Like it's just easier for me to like buy cards and sell cards. Like that is always easier. But I have known you for a long time and you love to trade. You do a lot of trading. Talk me through the idea of like why you prioritize trading and like why it matters to you in card dealings.
Again, there's a lot of different ways to trade. So I guess one of them that I did early on was a lot of like trading down. So if I have like a big card, people like give me a little more value because I'm taking a bunch of inventory in. And then on that same note, it's also easier for me to replace inventory if I'm getting it in trade instead of having to go source it again. And then another big thing now with like the higher end stuff is like if you have something that like people really want, they'll bring out cards that like they wouldn't normally trade, so you can get like similar type of pieces back in trade, which then just like results in kind of the trickle down effect. And someone else wants that card, then they'll trade more. So it's
and
like,
that is one thing I learned from you and from Mike, who we've had on here before, and I learned that from you guys around this. Like, and that has definitely opened my mind a little bit more to the idea of trading, because you guys talk about that idea that like if you have a really cool card, really cool cards attract other people's really cool cards, right? Because some people like have cards in their collection, they're like, I would never sell this. It's not about the money for them, but if they could use that card to get a different card that they really want more, they'll bring out some of their cooler cards, and then like you said, it has a trickle down effect. So now a card that's been in someone's collection for 10 years comes out to get a really cool card you have. And then when you get that card from them, somebody else has been looking for that same card that's been in a collection for 10 plus years, and it just snowballs, and it leads you, and again, it leads you to opportunities to buy and, or to see other cards that you normally don't see. But I want to give you some props, and I want to understand more why. But I think again, another thing, I like to give credit to you and Mike so much because I've learned a lot from you two. I think you just know a lot about the industry, and you've done it the right way for a long time. But you will trade up, and you will trade down. Talk to me why that is.
you just have to get creative. Some people like to, like if they have a bunch of stuff that they're willing to trade up, then they'll just, because in their mind they're like, oh, I'd have to sell all these to pay for this or something like that. So that's an easier way for them to move their inventory, so you can get a little extra there.
Yep.
And then I don't trade up as much, but because there's a lot of people that also like to just sell stuff with certain things. So it's like instead of trading, it's like I'll just give you like cash. So again, it just varies person to person on how they like view what they have and like trading. So you just kind of have to do it person to person.
Gotcha. So more of a case by case basis.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you seen any involvement in your business over the years with like trading versus selling? Like, do you think it's gotten more heavy into trading these days? Do you think it's more into just buying and selling these days? Have you seen any kind of like changes over the years?
I think just because it's a little more volume now, I do a lot more selling than trading. But on the bigger stuff, I'll do a lot of trading. But like I used to take trades for almost anything. But now it's like, is it worth the time to like go back and forth on like certain stuff when I could just like run on eBay now, since I do a lot on there with MC. So again, just mostly the higher end stuff, I'd say I've kind of catered the trading to rather than the mid end or
Yeah,
lower end.
and it seems like, again, you mentioned MC. It looks like, it seems like you and Mike have done a lot more, like, with your consignment services, have offered some more, like, private relationship type pieces where, like, you guys can help source different cards. And that has led to some pretty cool opportunities. Anything stand out over the last 12 to 18 months of some of the cooler cards you have seen and, trying to, help people acquire grails?
Yeah, we've come across some really cool stuff that people will have an opportunity to pick up, and they'll ask us to buy it for them, and then they'll pay us in consignment, or they'll consolidate till they give us a big lot, and we'll figure it out so they can buy that card. So like, I guess one of them that stood out a lot is like a '03 Jordan limited logos and a Kobe, and they're both like super nice copies. So that was a really cool deal to help someone do.
Have you seen any trends, and like, again, because you try to hunt for so many cool cards for some people, as you're searching for people's grails, have you seen any kind of trends lately with people looking for anything more specific? Anything, again, like, I think Mike had mentioned when he was on around, like, vintage with eye appeal has been hot, like Otani's been hot, the goats, like anything you have seen in more of your world?
Similar to that, honestly, a lot of Kobe, Jordan, LeBron, Curry, like those. We've funded a lot of that type of stuff.
So a lot more of the goats.
Yeah, not as much as the newer stuff, but almost all that older goat stuff.
Interesting. Seems like you see a lot of record-setting sales these days and some of the more modern stuff, and just like some of the attention that it has. But it seems like in the world you're dealing in with right now, and more I would say probably more private sector, that it's a lot more of some of the the biggest names and all time.
Yeah, definitely.
Talk me back through, like you mentioned, you were in school. Obviously, you're a lot younger. I admire that about you, just with like your knowledge at such a young age and the way you carry yourself. What was it like collecting in school, like in cards, like in high school and in college? Like, did you collect the entire time throughout? Because I know, I've talked about, like, I didn't collect a lot. Like, I bought and sold in college and in high school, but it was very like private. Like, I was super not like open about it. Now it's like a lot more mainstream. Like, there's a lot more people in cards now. I'm obviously way more comfortable with it later in life, but I wasn't that way young, and you're a lot younger. Did you collect a lot? Did you sell a lot? Did you stop? Like, how did that work?
So in high school, I was kind of a little embarrassed about it, honestly, so I didn't really tell anyone about it. And then once it kind of got to college, I only told my roommate because I would like keep stuff in my room.
Yep.
So you kind of had an idea, but still would keep it like relatively private. But
Yep.
Again, since it was kind of higher dollar stuff, then thankfully Mike would let me keep all my cards like at his place and just ship stuff for me. So that was definitely a bonus.
I remember those days. I remember having some conversations while you were in school. Like, we still got to keep in touch, and you're like, yeah, I made this deal and it shipped to Mike. And like, I remember like you and I would do deals, and like Mike would ship stuff to me, and like you're just making deals on the fly while in school and having other people ship them. Now, did you ever have any cards with you at school? Like, I'm curious, like, did the guys in your dorm know that you had like massive Tom Brady autos with you, or were they just like, oh yeah, those are cool sports cards, like, cool? Or like, did that ever come up?
I actually don't think I kept anything in school, which was good.
Interesting.
Yeah, at the very beginning, I think I had a little safe, and I had a couple of things, and eventually, like, when I wasn't doing as much there, I was like, let's just bring this back home.
Yeah.
Because Mike would help me, or like my parents, so an interest safer there. So that was definitely good.
Yeah, for sure. Just knowing some of the cool stuff you've had over the years, I'm just more curious around like, did college roommates get to see that? Because I think that's the thing now is like, with some of the values and some modern day cards and some of the stuff that you've seen over the years. Like, I know when like you talk to people like outside of the industry, like you tell them like, oh hey, this Shohei Ohtani auto is worth $5-10 grand. It's like, excuse me. Like,
yeah.
People get like taken back by it, but it's like you've almost like, and again I say this all the time, like you almost become numb to it. You're like, yeah,
Definitely.
this is what they transact at. This is what they're worth. Like, to us, it doesn't seem crazy, but to somebody else that has no idea what trading cards are and what sports cards are, like, you tell somebody like, hey, this Otani auto is a 5-figure card. Like, excuse me.
Yeah.
So I'm always interested in, like, you know, again, being in school, being in college, like college kids, like you don't have any money. Now you've got Tom Brady autos because you started at such a young age, and you know, I just had it for a while. It's more interested in that process. Now I know we've made some deals over the years at shows, you know, whether that be in Boston, whether that be in Dallas, you know, a couple different places. Talk me through kind of your, you know, game plan with like shows, like, you know, the national, like this is being recorded before the
Hmm.
national, likely drop after
Yeah.
the show, but like that's obviously the biggest one. You and I have spent a lot of time together at the past nationals. Another funny clip with like Fang, with Matt and I is like, was that Cleveland 2018?
I think so. I know what
Yeah,
you're talking about
Cleveland
that.
2018. We got a like a hotel Airbnb suite type place. It was me, Matt, Noah, and Aiden,
Yeah.
and we had this house. This is, again, these are funny stories I like to share, but we bought cases of 2017, 2018 optic fast break basketball. This just tells you how much
So much of that
this
stuff.
just tells you how much the market has changed. I think they were $40 a
I was gonna
box.
say it was like under $50 a
I think
box.
they
I
were
remember.
$40 a box, and you got one silver pack with them. And we sat around the table and box word these and pack word these until the end of time. And I
Yeah.
remember losing a Markel Fultz auto to 20 to like a or to 50 to like a Josh Jackson auto. I was so upset. But it's crazy. Like, Brian's got it up now. Those boxes on eBay are $366, $350 on Steel City.
Oh my
We are
gosh,
ripping them at
that's
like
crazy.
$40 at the National. So again, like I've known your game plan and like the way you approach shows, but like talk me through it. Like for somebody trying to find value and like how to attack a show and like how to have success at a show, what have you done in the past that has like you feel has set you up for success at a show?
Yeah, I'd say in the past it definitely helped like going up to tables you never been to and just kind of like starting a conversation, figuring out like what stuff you can get from them and just kind of like creating a relationship with them. Because then once you do that repeatedly, like you can go to shows and you're like, oh, I know I can do a deal with this person because they're fair. We work similarly. So
Yeah.
once you kind of know like who you know that you can deal with a lot, like that definitely helps a ton. Saves you time too because you're like, I'll go here, here, here.
Yeah,
Because
that's
especially if you go like, because at the very beginning of the show, like if those people are like very fair, then you want to hit them first. Because if you go later, then like, oh, someone already bought like a bunch of
yeah.
stuff from them, stuff like that.
Yeah, Brian and I talk about that a lot. Like, I know there's a couple shows we go to. Dallas is a great example. Ship Shawana is a great example, where it's like we go to that show and like I can tell you the first 5 people I'll make a deal with.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we've done so many deals over the years. They know what it's like. It's just like you have an idea of like what their expectations are. They know what you're looking for. They know what you're willing to pay. It's not it's not really like complicated. It's
Yeah.
you know it's you and I dealing these days. It's just like, you know, when you've made 40, 50, 60, 100 plus deals, it just becomes like, hey, this is our relationship. And I think that just speaks so much to the value of the relationship, right? Where it's like, I know if I need something, I can call you and vice versa. And I think it makes it a lot easier. So I think that's a really good piece of advice and something I definitely did not utilize as much when I was younger. And I think that's one thing I give you a lot of props for because you are so young in this is like going up to a table and trying to make the relationship early on is so key because it, like you said, it could just pay dividends every single time. Like, hey, I know this person, I know what they're about, I know I can make a deal with them. I wish I would have done that more when I was your age, and I think that's just a missing piece of it where it's like the advice could be like, hey, know what some of these players are worth, know what's hot, know what's selling, but it's like if you are willing to put yourself out there and take chances and go up to different tables, you can build relationships that can last for decades.
Yeah, another big thing that I like to do is like if it's a new table, I'll ask a price on like one card that I know like the price of, and then if they're like
See,
in the same ballpark.
Now you're getting real strategic because this is really good advice. This is
then,
definitely
yeah, because then if it's like in the same ballpark, you're like, all right, like I think
Yep.
most of the stuff should be like
now we can build around.
yeah,
it.
and then, but then
Yeah.
if they're like way too high or something, I'll be like, oh, okay, like
Yeah,
it's
now,
probably not
now
worth
we're
my
get-
time to ask.
Now
them
we're
a
getting
bunch
into the
of things.
weeds because this is a much bigger conversation around like negotiation and strategy and some of those things. And I think these are things I've learned from you over the years. But it's like I would say that's amazing advice because we talk a lot about it. But like if a card table doesn't have prices on it, I usually don't stop. Like you said, if it doesn't have a price and you've got to ask about it, it's like how many do you ask before you just like,
Yeah.
okay, we're not going to be close enough and we move on. But if it has a price or it doesn't, and like you said, you ask about one, that's usually like your tell on like, can I build a deal here? Can this work out? I've got something I like. I got something I see. I think I can continue to build off of this, or is it, hey, on to the next table?
Yeah.
So I love the I love the tips. I think they're super helpful. Now you've acquired some cool cards over the years. Some really cool things. Um, I've seen some of them. Personally, anything stand out as something that you didn't acquire that you regret? Just like one of those, like it got away because we have known each other for a long time, and we've had some of these phone calls. We're like, I should have bought this. I should have bought this. I should have bought this. What are some of those that like stand out as like because I see them turning.
Um, I would say actually it was semi recently. I had an opportunity to pick up like a very big Kobe collection with like a bunch of like flawless patch autos and like some exquisite stuff. But at the time I thought it was too much. But then obviously now looking back, the Kobe market has taken quite the jump. So that was probably one that got away.
So Kobe, you said patch autos. You mentioned it as like those are like you mentioned it like those are hotter now. We've seen some trends, here with like some of that stuff going up, like the Ronaldo and Messi flawless stand out as like cars that have skyrocketed lately. You've seen some of the goats, some of that stuff has trickled back up. Any thoughts on like why that might be?
I just think I would say a lot more people that are starting to get into cards. That's kind of what they're looking for, and also people with like I guess a bigger bankroll or they're looking. That's stuff that people really want to keep. I feel like, or that they'll like believe in longer, safer. So I just think a lot more people want it, and there's not a lot of it. It's not like the new stuff where like if you're trying to buy like Caitlin Clark or Wemby, there's like a ton of autos that just came out. So
Yeah.
it's just not like a shortage of supply, I guess.
Yeah,
for the
I'm
amount
sure
of
the
people that
supply and
want it.
demand piece really comes into play where it's like, there's not unlimited Michael Jordan, exquisite patch autos, but, getting a autograph of a superstar today is a lot easier than, some of those. And a lot of those, you think about it, some of those cards are 20 years old, and you think about like how many of those are in collections that'll
Yeah,
never
exactly.
leave. It's like the opportunity to get some of those isn't, plentiful. It doesn't happen daily, weekly, monthly. Like they're pretty rare sales. You'd be lucky if a couple sell a year, if at all. Especially on some of the really really
Yeah.
good stuff, some of the premier stuff. The cards you see on display at the National. A lot of those cards are once very often. They're not a dime a dozen. You've obviously been doing this for so long. Still really young, but you've learned a lot. You've taught me a ton, and in a decade plus of knowing each other, knowing all that you know now, as I end this podcast, like, what if you were starting over today? What advice would you give yourself?
I would definitely say like just building relationships with people that are more than just like doing deals. Like just make friends with people and build constant relationships, and that will get you farther than making money on like one big deal or something like that. Like that just goes so long. Like again, we've known each other for probably like 8 at least or probably 10 years now.
I mean, 2014,
Yeah.
2013, early IG
Yeah, I was gonna
days. That's
say.
12 years.
Yeah, like that just goes such a long way. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great advice. I think that's one we hear a good bit, and I think it's just so true. Is like the relationships matter so much. Like, it's just not always about the dollars and cents. It's about, again, just I can't tell you how many times I've called and be like, hey, I need this card. I need this. Look out for me on this. I can help me with this. And it's just like, again, I think it was a lot different probably for you and I when we were both starting out trying to build it 10 years ago, and we were FaceTiming about Jimmy G and Blake Bortles and Derek Carr autos, and now it's just, we've been friends for that long. It's cool to see, but it's just I think it speaks so much to like the value of the relationships and what that means to quote unquote success in the industry and just how important it is.
yeah, I was also gonna say there's also like you're always learning. Like there's nothing like you don't always know everything. So
For
like
sure.
that's why like have
Yep.
people to bounce ideas off of. Like I'll ask
Yep.
you a value question like all the time just to get
Yep.
like it's always good to get another opinion because market's always changing. Like
For sure. And yeah, just never being the smartest guy in the room.
yeah,
Like it just, I think that has been something like I really value is like really trying to understand like, why do you buy this? Like I don't buy $50,000 Michael Jordan cards all the time. Like, why do you buy those? What do you see there? Why do you make trades? Like, why do you, why are you buying this guy? Like, I think that's been something I've really tried to lean on over time, and I know you have too. I mean, we FaceTime for hours doing this.
yeah.
Like, it's like, why do you think about it like this? Do you think this is a good buy? Would you have made this deal? And it's just like you said, it's just so good to have somebody you can bounce those ideas off of, and I think it just helps the learning process of like this industry is complicated and complex, and I think having other people in your corner that are like-minded to grow with has been instrumental. If people want to find you, where can they find you?
On Instagram, Matt Z Sports Cards.
Matt's Sports Cards with a Z.
Yeah.
Always loved it. It's got a Patriots profile pic?
Yeah.
Is that what it is? Yeah, love it. Well, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a privilege to be able to be friends for as long as we have, and to be able to have you on the pod is something I don't take for granted. So appreciate you coming all the way out here to be on here.
Thank you. Pleasure for you to have me out here.
Thank you guys for listening. That's all I got for now.